Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. This video you're about to see is a compilation of several days when I went looking for a lost mine that was vaguely written about in our local history. These are the kind of things you can expect on this channel in the future, so hope you enjoy and stay tuned. Well, hey everybody, this is the start of something I've been meaning to do for a long time. I got out of one of our old local history books a small blurb that mentioned a mine. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna go looking for. Well, the old history book gives us very little insight as to what kind of mine. Copper mine, lead mine, salt mine. Just mine. Well, pretty much I parked on the main road, which you can hear back there, and I'm heading for the south side of this mountain. Back in the early 1700s, this whole area, there was a lot of debate as to where lines would be drawn. And in the book, it states, with the shifting of people's properties, it also mentions the old abandoned mine. That's rather curious. I have been all over, well, the other side of this mountain, and there's a reason for that. See, when the glaciers receded, dragging all that earth with it, in New England here I've observed, it's the northerly sides that have the slopes. Think of where all your ski areas are. It's the southerly sides that are steep and have a lot of deposit. The reason I've been so much on that side is because it was heavily settled. I've been to all those farms, but I've never come completely around this side, and that's my best guess as to where this mine would be. So unless for some crazy reason I get lucky and just walk up to it, I have a feeling that this is something we're going to be able to, well, find together over a bunch of videos. This is the time of the year to do it. I've picked the center point and I'm gonna do the easterly side today, or as much as I can. And as we go, we'll be looking for the signs. You would think if they were mining up here, you know, there'd be a cart path. There'd be a way to get whatever it was out of the ground, out of the area. You'd also think there'd be all the refuse coming out of the ground. It's gonna be rocks. That's a given. And we're pretty flat where I am right now, so we need to keep heading towards that horizon. From the top there, hiking down, I've only gone a short distance because it's so steep. So I'll be kind of looking for things like this, beaten trails. Yeah, I'm sure people still come and hike, but as I had said recently, a lot of these hard-packed trails are a lot older than modern day times. And as we've learned through the years, reading the language of the landscape, anything the colonists have done in the past 400 years, it's painfully obvious when you see it. Man leaves its footprint and fingerprints everywhere. Oh yeah, it's getting steep now. So right about this area, all the way around the mountain to the other side is where I'm thinking to look. It goes from being, you know, somewhat of a grade to the top. Wow, it can't get much more up than that. It's actually over vertical in a lot of that face because of all this stuff that's broken off. So you can see as to where we're limited as to how far we can go up the peak. It's sharp on this side. So it's just going to be a matter of, you know, a few hikes going around this side. The road may sound loud to you guys, but it's probably It's probably quarter to a half a mile that way, so it's a good chunk of land to have to go back and forth on. But I really believe it's going to be along this ridge line. You're going to dig into the side of a mountain looking for stuff. Alright, keep heading that way. So look at all this. This is what we find on the south sides of the mountains here in this part of New Hampshire. I'm sure it's like that throughout the northern hemisphere. And on the other side, from the glaciers receding, there's a lot more soil. Wow. You can see how far I've come up looking to the south. Oh boy, look at you. Leave them alone. Well, as I said earlier, I've been on this side of the mountain many times, and I believe I've come to about this point at this elevation. So I've been that way. I've come about a mile to the east. Not the no signs of man. It can be anything, you guys know. Cart path, a couple stacked stones, old tree, whatever. So I'm gonna drop down a bit to where it's a bit more traversable and see if we see any signs down there. And aside from it being a great hike, every now and then I see the comment, well, too bad you didn't find anything. Sometimes not finding anything is the biggest piece. You get into an area like this and you're like, well, it definitely didn't happen over here. Take that right off the map. The more we chip away, the better chance we have. Right now, it's if I was here over 300 years ago, where would I be walking and looking? Topographical standards of the area, this isn't too bad, right? Well, it's remarkable how quickly the landscape can change. Man, I just went down into a pit and back out. Whoa, my kneecaps are on fire, but it feels good. It doesn't look any better. I haven't seen any signs. I mean, I'm even surprised that nobody was up here splitting stones for cellar holes and stuff. Back the way we just came is documented as the ancient road. And people out here for a long time, even before documented settlement. So being it so clearly we don't see that anything happened here, it's kind of a good thing. Well, being that this is a Friday edition of Not Thursday, we'll pick this up next week. These videos are all part of the if and when. If it is found, you batch all these together, we got a pretty cool story. I guess it's a 50-50. There was a mine here, or somewhere down the line with folklore, stories were told and there actually was not a mine. But either way, proven or disproven, we have some information. Alright everybody, well, this is part 2 of finding a mine. If you missed the episode before this one, go back, watch it, then come back here. This is where we left off. I had gone all the way to the east. Didn't find anything but a lot of rocks. This time we're going to the west and we're starting out this really hefty wall. So after the video the other day, I'd gone back and I did more research. Apparently it was this mine location which actually determined where the town lines would be set. Remember I said there was debate over that? That's given me some clues, and another reason why I'm pretty sure it's in that direction. And another blurb I didn't mention the other day was the fact that they said the mine had been drained of all its resources in the early years. And again, as we were out here looking the other day, logic would tell you it's, you know, somewhere along this ridgeline before it gets steep. And when we were on the other side, in the last video, there was no apparent signs of human activity, you know, with the exception of logging, obviously. But it was going back and doing the research that I figured out who lived where. That was the tail end of a farm we just skirted along, and that's one of the clues. That's interesting. T in the wall. This corner here is away from the mountain, so this square is facing the face of the mountain behind me. See a lot more going on this side than the other side. And I'm thinking I'm seeing the back wall over there. I also went back and checked the topographic oceans. Topographic oceans, nice. Reference to a Yes album, right? I went back and checked the topographic maps, and roughly from where I am to the peak is 500 feet. And it's not drawn out, it's a face. Alright, let's go check out that back wall. And again, like I said the other day, I think it's going to be pretty obvious. Not like it's going to be this little, you know, cartoon character-like mine shaft or something, but I think the mess they left behind, or footprints, should be apparent. Alright. It's a small square. Very small. Not good ground, so it's probably for livestock. Maybe it had to do with the mine. I can tell you that the road closest to here is way off. But unlike the other day, we are not near any established roads. So this is intriguing over here. Gotta be careful today too. You can see we got a bit more snow and it's blanketing any sheets of ice, making it treacherous. Well, I've gone as far around as I think I need to go. I could be wrong. And I'm going to start heading up that way. Found a little bit of a logger's landing down there. And as we've learned that through the 1900s, through the different stages of logging, there's reasons why we find logging paths where they are, or landings. Most of the time, it's an old cart path. The landing is almost always at a cellar hole because it's the path of least resistance. It brought me to right here. This is where the thrill is at. Just intensely scanning the land as you go, hoping your eyes will lock on to what you're looking for. Oof. Jeez, maybe I'm up higher than I thought I was. I'm recalibrating. I can see a land feature off in the distance. I do need to go further. And crazily enough, this far up, I'm seeing a wall down there. So I'm gonna get down to that wall and continue on. Yeah, that's definitely an odd place for a wall. Unless that's a cart path. Because you can see how steep this is where we're walking down. Levels out, wall, and then it goes down. No, it ain't a cart path. That does mean something. Well, with compressing video to make these episodes, it seems like it's pretty quick, but I just went all the way to the other side where the north side of the mountain slopes down. As I come around, you can see behind me it's not too bad. So I'm going to go back to that steep area that I went up where I said loggers had cut a little notch. Pretty sure that's dead center of the steep part of the face. It's got to be over there. Just over here would make no sense. All right, onward. Well, there's my prints. Round and round and back up the steep side. You guys see that? Nah, I think it's just natural. But then again, with it already being lost to history, and only that one mention in the old book, and believe me, I have cross-referenced everything I could trying to find info. For safety's sake, I guess they could have closed it up somewhere, but again, I think it would be more apparent. This is odd. I don't know what it means, but this doesn't look filled in by any means. It is peculiar. Boy, those almost look stacked. So there's the peculiar trench. And look at that, right up behind it. A little cave. Something's living in there. There's all poop everywhere. Yeah, we won't be going up with the flashlight to look for eyeballs. Probably a porcupine, but who knows. So this is the area that seems the most interesting. Boy, that sun feels good for January. It's a lot colder today, but you get where there's no wind and in the sun, plenty comfortable. Well, I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree, as they say. But it would make sense to me. This is the area where it would be. I guess it's going to take another trip. 2, 3, I don't know. Either way, this is the fun part. It's all about the hunt. Alright, well, let's look around a few more. And maybe we'll get lucky. Oh, I got a sign. Look at this. Yes. Wow. Wow. And they never pulled it out of here. And look what's beside it. A cart path. And this is exactly the kind of thing I was looking for. This is pretty far up, and for them to have split this up here, there's a reason for it. Because there's plenty of rocks down there to split and be used, and they didn't even take any of it with them. Isn't that fascinating? Look at that. That's maybe 2 inches in to split this thing. And that does look like a cart path right over here. Yeah, and there's some rocks on the side of it. That's a good sign. Be real interesting if it's in this area. I'm pretty much in the middle of what I just did, and a bit further up from where I originally walked in. It's not terribly steep over here. That's why I'm curious. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm on the side of the mountain. This to me looks like a way of travel for sure compared to everything else I've seen. I've just got a feeling. I don't know. People have definitely been over here. And it's not like the other side, the tail end of the farm. This is the side of the mountain, and you're doing nothing but moving rocks. So to get this path in here, you would have had to have moved earth. I don't know, to me that's clear as day going up there. And look at all the rocks off to the side on both sides. Well, it did lead me to this plateau. Nice flat shelf halfway up. You can see the horizon, that's how high I went, but it's the only thing that's apparent. Oh, maybe that was a staging area? I'm shooting with my wide angle today, so that's as close as I can get. Let me crop it in. I can't see if there's anything in there, and I don't want to get any closer. Boy, that just goes straight up from here. I'm pretty sure there's no way in hell it's up there. You guys wouldn't believe how steep that is. Alright, back down a bit more. And my gut feeling tells me that this is the close area. The ground has been shifted, there's stacked rocks everywhere, and we are really quite a distance in between old farms. Well, I appreciate you all watching. Hope you enjoyed coming along again. I'm coming back, maybe even tomorrow. I'm not gonna rest until I've hit every inch of ground up here. Well, here we go, everybody. Part 3 of finding the mine. I went back home yesterday and went through all the material I had to work with again. And here are my thoughts on what we learned the last 2 videos and why we're going back to where we are going today. Points of interest from yesterday's video. The first thing we had come across was that wall, that small little square pasture. Well, I came back this morning and followed all 4 sides, and it's completely isolated on its own. It is not connected to either of the 2 farms further down that way. Which does make me think that if there was some type of operation up here, mining, that you would need livestock to pull carts, move rocks, whatever. And that cart path, that's the second thing. The cart path that took us to that plateau goes right down to that. And then that small pasture is in between farms and goes out to the main road. And the third thing that I learned last night is this. The debate for the town lines here was settled in 1790. And in the book, it describes as to where the actual line that sits now is and the proposed line from point A to point B. So what I did was I took and drew lines on a map, and it does give us a very small sliver to work with, which is this side of the mountain. If this is not actually it over here, there's only one other small possibility. Not too far off from where they started to split the line, but it's marshy. I know that. So we're going back up to that plateau and we're going to take a poke around. I'm not going to last out here today. It's single digits with the wind. Extremely cold. I'm very warm right now because I'm dressed properly, but once I slow down, I'm going to cool off. So let's head up to the top there, take a look around and see if there's anything that stands out. So this is our painfully obvious cart path that leads up to our plateau and comes up from the small pasture and then out to the old main road. So I'm gonna look around and see if there's any other signs of people doing things here. The more I thought about it last night, the more it made sense. for this location. And really thinking about it, again, it doesn't imply what kind of mine it was, so we don't know what their approach was as to pulling the resources out of here. And the fact being that this happened over 200 years ago, that is a long time for the land to shift up here. Don't forget, we've had some major floods over that time. The hurricane of 38, that could have changed the entire face of this mountain over here. Maybe that's why it has not been brought back up over the course of 200 years, because it's been forgotten. Nobody else has found it and brought it back to light. And you guys know, you went with me, circling the entire side of the mountain here, inside that sliver that I pointed out where it had to have happened. This is the only place that a cart path brought us up to that was flat. So who's to say that whatever they took out of here isn't what created this plateau? You know what I mean? Like this chunk. It's just very hard to say, not knowing, but it is the most intriguing and peculiar spot around. We'll poke around, see if anything else stands out like that split stone yesterday, and that's not very far from here. So that is all I have for today. I'm gonna let this area breathe for a while. As you guys have seen, and we know that sometimes it takes years to figure things out and find them because of what we learn in between as we go. There's been many sites here you've seen in the past that we are like, it took 3 years to find it, because we learned something somewhere else along the way. And these last 3 videos, I've definitely learned a lot more about this mountain, because I had never spent so much time over here because it's so rugged. So I'm gonna hike my way out of here because that wind is just tearing at me. And I'm quite content with the hike today. Well, it's the next day. I was thinking about what I had said about that one little sliver I could not get to because it's all swampy and marsh. Not too far off from where they started to split the line. I couldn't let it rest. That's where I'm heading right now. I actually had to come up over that part of the ridge line to go down where I'm hoping there's a little plateau, but the rest of it is all wetland, water, marsh. And if this turns out to be a dead end, then no doubt the plateau we had found has got to be it. So this is what I'm coming down and through. And let me tell you, it is cold today, single digits, and that wind just makes it really, really brisk. To touch on a couple comments in the first videos, possibility of it being a surface mine? Absolutely. Possibility of it being a quarry? Highly unlikely. The quarries around here are painfully obvious, and it is not a mistaken phrase in the book using the word mine, because quarry is mentioned frequently. And no, I don't expect to see a tunnel going into the side of the mountain. That's why I said I don't expect a cartoon-like, you know, entrance boarded up or anything like that. I'm looking for the residuals and leftovers from the mine. That's the other thing. If they were quarrying granite out of here, it wouldn't have stated in the book that they ran out of resources, because there's no shortage of it. Well, interesting. See the wall behind me? I just popped in from over there. It comes up, squares off. So the suspicions I've had for some time that that wetland at one point in time was pasture or field, I think is right on. This wall squares off for that area, and when you look at it, you can always tell when a field or pasture has been flooded. You can see down here on the other end, the wall goes right down into water. So that square is confined to that area. I know there's nothing else over here. For walls, that is. Alright, back. It's easy to see why that lower area flooded out. Look at the runoff. And probably when they paved the road out there and built it up, it just choked it all off, and that water was going nowhere. Well, I've come up in here to get out of the wind for a bit before I head out, go home. Where we just went, I'm glad I did it. It confirms the tail end of that farm is in fact under the wetlands that I've seen from the other side many a times. Clearly that wall came out, squared off, right back in. As for the location of the mine, I guess it's still yet to be undetermined, but I really do think that plateau is the best possible candidate at this moment. Who knows, maybe someday we'll discover that was not it. But there is one thing for certain, something did happen there, and I can doodle it down on my map, and maybe in the future, because as time goes on, we learn more. We find things later on because of what we've learned in the meantime. Who knows? Maybe we'll just come across something someday up here exploring and go, whoa. But until that day, I'm gonna keep getting outside, keep exploring, keeping the wonder alive inside, and sharing it with you. All right, everybody. See you soon. Until next time, enjoy your Not Thursday.